Hi, Stefan. Thanks for joining the Winning CSP podcast. How is it going?
Hi, Ali. Thanks for having me. It's all good here. Thanks.
Fantastic.
Same with you.
So, yeah, can you give us some background about life as a VP of digital business at MediaLine?
Yeah, sure. Would love to. Yeah, I think, my background is not really technical. I started in IT back in the 90s, I think. But in that time, everybody was caught from street who was able to learn programming. So I did the same. I started a little bit of web development and then develop myself into more like a pre-sales role, a more technical sales role, into sales, and yeah, ended up selling software and recognizing the value of software. And each company I entered, I got a little bit more responsibility for parts of software in the companies, and I got a better understanding of processes, business processes. So I joined MediaLine. Yeah, when I joined MediaLine in 2012, I developed my role into someone who is driving innovation inside the company, trying to drive innovation for our customers. And that was how I went further. And for now, got the responsibility for everything what has to do with digital transformation, digital business inside MediaLine and also for our customers. So today I'm taking care of all our platforms for digital transformation to do business in a more automatic way with our customers, and also helping customers to understand how they can transform their own businesses.
Got it. So, what does digital transformation mean for CSP or MSP business? How do you define digital transformation for a beginner with respect to CSP and MSP businesses?
I would say it's something what has to do a lot of gaining more data, getting the data you already have. I mean, dealing with Microsoft was always sharing data, but
Right.
it changed somehow. So the the amount of transactions had a huge grow, at least for us, and involved when we invented cloud computing, public cloud computing, the amount of data billing Azure, for example, had a huge growth. So what we had to make sure was that we have all the data ready and available at the time we need it. So doing digital transformation means having the data and then being able to transact more like a robot process. So that's maybe the first part that you can say, okay, there's some data, I make it available, and I start building processes that run automatically.
When you say data, what type of data are we talking about?
I mean, it's all kind of data. It's like the master data you own. Usually you do not have really clean data, but it's very important to have your master data, like know your customer, know who it is, and how your systems are looking at your customer. That's not always the same. You can have like a customer entity, but you have ERPs with multiple accounts. You have to make sure that you know which one is the customer you're talking about. That's master data, maybe the contacts you're interacting with, the persons you're interacting with, but also the transactional data. So whenever you're doing business, there's kind of transaction and there's data. And I mean, earlier times you were entering the data, you were creating your invoices manually. Today, that wouldn't be possible for us.
Right. So, kind of a metadata or the customer data, and then you have this transactional data about what customers are purchasing, utilizing. There are tons of data, especially when you're saying talking about the Azure consumption or usage. There's like gigabytes or terabytes of data that's coming in your way.
And it's
Makes
good you
sense.
mentioned
So,
metadata because when we're talking about Azure, it's like the same. You
right.
will always have metadata about your users and who is allowed to see what, who is allowed to do what, who can do which transactions from which company. So that's also it's good to mention.
Makes sense. So, in terms of, you know, with your transformation projects or initiatives that you had, pioneered or you have overseen, can you share some of the successful transformations or projects or initiatives that you saw? And can you share the key factors in making it successful or making it work?
Yes, sure, sure. I think there are a few of them. So, I mean, we can pick the CSP part because that was a thing back then when Microsoft changed everything. We can talk about master data later because that was the base for everything. But when Microsoft changed the way they are interacting with their partners, we had a lot of troubles keeping pace and getting information and understanding what is happening and trying to figure out how we could change our processes, our internal processes. Not even the process towards the customer, because a lot of our customers are still relying on us, and then they're calling in, tell us, "Hey, can you please
Right.
just book some licenses for me?" But we figured pretty fast that it wouldn't work. You get a huge table with data, CSV data for invoicing, and it's not cleaned, and you have to get the right out of it. You have to address the right customer with the right issue, with the right item, and we did it manually firsthand. And yeah,
Fun part of the project, right?
yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, you had like Excel tables. What happened back then when Microsoft was inventing the new commerce experience was that it changed everything. It changed like the way we were booking, the way we got bills, data for billing. Before it used to be pretty easy, straightforward. It was like we didn't have any marketplace, but it was okay. Anytime a customer needed something, he bought it, he ordered it, and we got an invoice. I mean, it was a mess. It is much better today because you can align your invoicing dates. To that, customers were buying like every month 3 times, and a year after they got an invoice. But it was easy to keep track because it was just it was flowing in, and you were just invoicing it. But you didn't have to keep track of what is going to happen next month and coming in back again. So that was a huge change.
Right. So the way the invoices, the dates aligned, when we look at the Microsoft invoice line items, for every single transaction that the customer does, there can be potentially at least three line items or four line items that comes through. It's if you are not, having strong heart, you can easily faint when you look at the invoice line items.
Yeah,
So how did you solve this problem? It must have been really hard to do it manually. And we talked about this before, and you mentioned how tools like HYBR helped, but it would be great to hear from you how you went from manual to automated process basically.
yeah, sure. Yeah, we've been talking about that before, and I was talking about the huge Excel sheets to help us out, and we did a lot of innovation, and then I mean the very expensive platforms, there were very cheap ones, and none of them were really working smooth, and the experience wasn't really good. And then at the same time, we had acquired a company who was very big in business with Azure Stack Hub, and that was when Cloud Asset was invented to me personally.
Right.
Uh, First touch point.
Got it. So how it helped in terms of, like you said, using the Excel sheets and doing the manual processing, it sounds almost like a big data analytics done manually. And how much did HYBR automation, like putting this automation on top of this whole process, helped you, someone who was taking care of it, as well as the whole business?
For us. So
Right.
that was a huge relief because when we were up and running with Hyber, it was like you don't have to go there and download any invoice files, recon files, trying to figure out which customer. You don't have to care about files.
Right.
It's done by Hyber. you don't have to think about how could you calculate the uplift or the margins you want to add because you have some work to do and obviously you
Right.
want to charge for it.
Yeah.
How could you calculate margins? Because it's very different from product to product. So you can't just add like 50% and that's it, or 15 or 5%, because some of
Right.
them don't have any margin. And it
Right.
was really easy to set up plans for each customer individually, how you want to invoice them, how you're going to bill, what they're going to pay. It was easy to get the data into the platform. We didn't have to care about it. We instantly dropped everything we did with the Partner Center API. We hadn't to care
Right.
about it anymore. So that
Right.
was a really, really good experience. Importing customers, getting the customer data in there, defining your payment plans and your offers, and getting the invoice data out of it. I
Right.
mean, if you look at the changes we had in the meantime, changes in the API and everything, we don't care anymore.
Right. Because HYBR is able to kind of isolate you from all those changes so that you can focus on the business side of things. How much effort per month do you think it helped save, and approximately?
I would say we had like 1 week work is ready, and we had like 1 month or maybe sometimes 2 months delay of the invoices towards the customer.
Wow.
The amount of work you save, but it's also you don't generate like cash flow problems.
Right.
You can't
How soon you can get the payments, from the customers, because that's an important factor. Like without the delay,
exactly.
right? Makes sense. So in terms of so you mentioned like one of the successful projects that you kind of initiated and it kind of helped you is this automating the CSP processes using a tool like HYBR. From your experience, have you seen any project that did not go as per the plan, and kind of what was your learning from that in terms of the digital transformation business, basically, right? So what was some of the lessons learned, so somebody watching this, they can get those insights and learn
Mhm.
something from this conversation today?
I think it was one experience. One good thing was that we had been working with the API, with the invoicing data, everything. So we had some experience on our own, but that was mainly related to the switch Microsoft did. So everybody had
Mm.
like a steep learning curve, and it thought that we understood what is happening, and we were talking like, I know, and we can figure out what the solution is because there were a lot of errors and problems, not in our project, but raised by Microsoft. And I think you have to understand what is happening. You have to understand your business, sure, but it was always easy to deal with it if you can speak openly. If everybody is aware there are problems and my problems, we're generating problems. Sometimes it's software, sometimes it's Microsoft. It's pretty easy to get rid of them. Sometimes it takes time, but you don't have to fight too much. So this is a good project because you know that you have problems, and the main problem is the transition from legacy to NCE. Easy. Understand how your software is working, understand all these office plans, how you want to set it up, get a proper understanding of your business model, how you want to charge customers, and what your margin should be, and how you want to organize everything. And it's pretty straightforward.
So I think from the technical standpoint, moving from legacy to NCE, there was a lot of help, and tools like HYBR and Cloud Asset came to aid. But what things that you had to do to educate the customers about, hey, from now on, this is what the process is going to be? How did you go about educating the customers?
Yeah, it's experience, I would say. Like coming from a comfort zone where they were always just yelling like, "Hey, I need this, do it for me. And we wanted to transform them to, hey, listen, you don't have to call in and wait for somebody to do something. You can just go to the marketplace, just deploy whatever you need. And we still have customers which like us to do it and on their behalf, and they don't want to do it. But most of them have the same problems. They need to streamline their processes, and they're happy if there is something they can do on their own. And even for future, we can connect their systems with our system. So maybe purchasing systems could be connected. You can go to Coupa, order something, and it's connected directly to HYBR, and everything runs automatically.
We have a lot of integration APIs in HYBR, for example. Like you said, you can integrate the identity management systems that the customer has with HYBR. So there is a single sign-on with HYBR, and then when a new customer is onboarded in their HRMS systems, it automatically the workflow sends a webhook message to HYBR, and those users and those departments are onboarded into HYBR, and from then on, it's basically it becomes an kind of an integrated system for their company. It is not just for MediaLine. What you are doing is you are providing a platform for their company, so their users can directly do the business. That interacting with MediaLine becomes so much easier. Instead of, for example, I don't know, when you mentioned, even till today many customers kind of ask CSPs or MSPs to, hey, go and get me 100 licenses for, I don't know, Copilot or something, and it usually comes as a ticket, and then you go and your team used to do it in manual way, but now with tools like HYBR, your team can just click a button and purchase 10 or 100 licenses on behalf of the customers and then assign it to them. So I think shifting the responsibility or shifting the work needed from your side to the customer to be able to self-service, that's kind of the nirvana, the ideal thing that we want HYBR to provide to our customers. And we have been creating a lot of features, integrations with this respect, but I feel like till now the missing piece, like you mentioned, is probably that integration from the customer's own systems is what is missing in many of the deployments, where to make it truly self-serviceable. So why do you, if we have, do you think the customers will be able to self-service, or you still have customers sending you email, hey, can you do this for me, because that's the value that they see in CSPs
We still have them, and I guess we will have them forever. Like,
forever?
yeah, and I mean, you're sharing screen, and you tell them it's okay. You can press it now, and then it will immediately book, and everything's good, and you can prepare things, and you can help them. So it's always like a lot of words. Yes, okay, but sometimes it's good to have a picture, a shared picture where everybody sees the same, and you can work along. And something we're doing a lot, they are using HYBR, they are doing the bookings, they're adding licenses, the same license.
Okay.
But whenever there is some kind of migration or change, they like us to join them and do it together.
Like they need somebody who's kind of the subject matter expert to come and say, hey, yes, you are doing the right thing, this is what will give you the value. So instead of using E3 plus an additional add-ons, you go move to E5, and that has something better value or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah, right. And now the license migration part, so it's in time and there's no interruption, and they know if they deploy it now, if they buy it now, it's there, and it's just switching.
Yeah, and there are always kind of incentives that comes along. Certain products have discounts, that you guys as CSPs are more aware of, and working for the customers, you can pass on those incentives and educate them about what's best for them.
Yeah, exactly. We're speaking about interfaces and connecting systems. I mean, one thing would be if you would extend the platform and having like a Ariba, Coupa connection, so customers could use their e-procurement systems and connect them to HYBR and buy automatically. That's one part, and I guess we in future we will need that because it's the same with our transactional business, hardware business, and shops. They need to connect. They have their ITSM systems, like they're onboarding a new teammate, and he needs hardware, he needs software. So they want to do it from like ServiceNow, and then just send a request, please book this one, and that should be like an API, not something where we were running several platforms. It's not our only service platform. It's not the only platform where you can buy something. If you look at solutions like Workplace as a service, we do have platforms for that. They're very, very special because they need like asset management in there for the customer. But if it's the same, you connect these platforms to their HR systems. When a new user is onboarded, we get an order for hardware, for monitor, mouse, keyboard, everything, and software. And so what we need to do is we need to connect our workplace as a service platform with HYBR, the purchasing process.
Yep. And that's very interesting because a couple of our customers in Europe, not too far from where you are, so this is the workflow they are implementing as we speak. Actually, one of them already implemented. Basically, like you said, if HRMS system send a request through ServiceNow, it automatically triggers the purchasing process in HYBR. So we have all those building blocks. We have made the APIs and webhooks in a very kind of a REST API, like in a generalized way. So that way, every customer has a different system, right? Like somebody has SAP, somebody has Ariba, somebody has used ServiceNow. You never know what each customer have. But with HYBR, we have this standardized APIs and webhooks. So it you can bring all of those workflows, trigger things within HYBR, and you can also generate triggers from HYBR that calls into those systems. So we have both in and out type of events and workflows and API support. So
Yeah.
definitely, we can make that happen, and we have customers already leveraging those features. But I am with you in this day and age, where you can type few prompts and you get the entire website created or the entire program written. The expectations from tools like HYBR or even other tools, it's like, why am I have to do like 10 different things to accomplish my one scenario, which is onboarding employee to the company, right? Yeah, I should be able to just even with an AI prompt, hey, I want to have, I don't know, some Dell laptop with certain GPUs for this guy because he's a machine learning expert or whatever. And then I want to have him Microsoft O365 E5 license with Copilot enable. You should just type it in and things should happen. That's kind of what the expectation these days are. It's going to be more and more prominent type of expectation from the customers, right? So with the AI, what do you see your role as well as the expectations from asks from your customers in this phase?
Yeah, one thing is, like you said, it's Copilot. So we're selling Microsoft licenses, and of course, customers want us to explain how they could leverage Copilot, how they should use it, how they should implement it, preventing leaking CEO confidential informations. What we heard, we're the advisor, how to work with Copilot, how to implement it properly, and how to find out what the benefit is. It's not only yes, you can like have Copilot write me emails or automatically answer without repeating every time. I think there's a major shift in our business from transactional business. I mean, that's the reason why I'm dealing with digital platforms because we want to automate, we want to interact automatically, we want different systems to enabling customers to sell hardware. I mean, how can you run some AI model locally on-prem, if you don't own a server and media cards, they will need it, and they need a software stack and everything, but they will need much more understanding from even from salespeople and consultants to explain how they can transform their business. And that's what we're stepping in. That's where we decided even a year ago we need to build good services to help customers understand the value and get their feet in.
Definitely.